Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Just a couple of things. I left off Labour's list of shame, Isabel, which I'll just mention in passing, just to make sure we got the full list. Don't forget there's Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner's plan to turn Britain into one big council estate. She wants to build 1.5 million homes in about 20 minutes. She wants to do this, really, really quickly. Anyway, the Communities Minister, Matthew Pennycook, admitted yesterday that the project to build these £1.5 million homes, now they've looked at it and, I quote, will be more difficult to achieve than we expected. In other words, they will not achieve it. And, of course, not forgetting Starmer's penchant for releasing dangerous prisoners. They've just had to redraft the terms of those releases because it turns out that they encompass the potential to release murderers, serial killers, so they haven't foreseen that letting out murderers might not be a good idea. It is a shambles. It is a swirling mass of incompetent awfulness. It really, really is. As you say, people like you and me, we always say, oh, this Labour government is going to be terrible. Well, we would say that. But I don't think that we ever envisaged it would be terrible in this way. This isn't just terrible. This is useless. This is useless.
I think it's historically disastrous, actually. It's about how does this country look after 5 years of this? And I think it is a complete and utter disaster. That's not a political comment. It is just a real observation about how many things have already gone wrong and how important they are.
Yeah, and this brings us on nicely to, and I kept this separate because I just think, this is jaw-dropping. That, we know what's going on in Ukraine now with that escalating conflict. It's looking really worrying over there. Zelensky has fired the first Storm Shadow missiles, 12 of them, I think, into Russia, and they're British-made. They're already firing long-range American missiles in, so Putin's fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into Ukraine. Think tensions are ratcheting up, and people forget, by the way, we go, I'm sure it won't come to nuclear war, it won't come that bad. It took 20 years for World War II to actually start. People were talking about, we're on the verge of World War II 20 years before it actually happened. So don't think that there isn't more of this to come. Don't think that this won't escalate anymore. It really could, and we really could be on the way to World War III. I don't say that with any relish. Obviously, I say that with terror. But in the light of this awful reality, Defence Secretary John Healey announces £500 million worth of military cuts. He's going to axe 31 frontline helicopters, 2 commando assault ships, a frigate, 2 fast fleet tankers and 46 watchkeeper drone aircraft. He's going to significantly reduce our military firepower at this time, at this point in history. You know why he's doing this? He says, because I've got the guts. The Tories didn't have the guts to do this, to get rid of dilapidated equipment that isn't fair on our servicemen and servicewomen. What a ridiculous thing to say. You know why he's doing it? Because they're Labour. Labour don't like weapons of war. This lot, they're all CND, 1970s peacenik lefty students. That's why they've done it. This is terrifying.
Well, another reason they've done it is because the number of service personnel we've got has shrunk back so badly that we don't even have the people to sail the boats or the pilots to operate the aircraft. This is not some kind of hyperbole on my part. The extent to which the armed forces has been slashed back, by the way, under the Tories, is absolutely appalling, completely shameful. Think about our Navy. Only a tiny fraction of our naval personnel are actually able to go to sea. The vast majority of those in the Navy are not actually fit or capable or trained to go to sea. And people wonder these days, what is the point of the Navy? It feels as if it's, in some ways, the least obviously relevant in the modern era. But quite the opposite is true. Our safety and security relies on freedom of navigation. And in fact, you can see the pinch points and the areas where World War III may well kick off from areas where ships are being impeded in their lawful passage by, for example, the Iranians and the Chinese. And you're absolutely right to have flagged up, the long-term potential for nuclear conflagration. And in that, we shouldn't just look at Russia, but we should look at Iran. Iran is potentially within 2 years of being able to develop nuclear weapons, and we know what a rogue state they are, what a hostile, unpredictable, dreadful regime that is, and that is a serious threat to global stability. So absolutely true that we could be in a very dangerous place, not only now, but in years to come. And Britain has got a choice to make, those who lead us. What role do we want to play in the world? Do we want to be active in all of this, or do we want to have things done to us? Because we're not going to have a choice when the time comes. War isn't something that we get to choose whether it happens. So this is a question of whether we're sitting in the back of the car as passengers, or whether we actually have the capability to take the wheel and drive that car out of trouble.
Yeah, and if I hear one more of these cabinet morons blaming the Tories for everything. John Healey's statement to the Commons yesterday about this extraordinary move to cut our military might at this point in history, it's just extraordinary. And saying, I have the courage to do what the Tories didn't have the courage to do. It's not fair on our troops to burden them with this dilapidated equipment. And he's right, some of these ships and some of this equipment is old. It's, but, I would say it's better than nothing. This is not the time to be sending Putin a message, we're cutting our military firepower. And yet Healey did this. And again, this is what worries me. I think at the bottom of this is their ideology. Their 70s CND peacenik idiots. They really are. It's the same reason it's the same reason that underpins most of their policies. Old-fashioned Corbynist, extreme left socialism, and it's really, really worrying. I wouldn't mind betting that old Starmer doesn't take away our nuclear in power by the end of this regime. I mean, it really is getting terrifying. Who do they think they're kidding? It's the Tories. Look at the mess. They're still trolling it out. They're still saying, well, I think everybody understands that we were left with such a mess by the Tories. I mean, the Tories, what they've left us with. Everybody's going, shut up. Shut up. We don't believe...
Exactly where everyone's going. Like an entire nation is thinking and feeling shut up whenever they hear that phrase. You can only get away with that for so long. And I'm sure that we'll still be hearing it for at least another few months to come, and probably longer. But people have got a limited patience with that rhetoric. And, the Tories didn't cover themselves in glory on forces, far from it. I mean, one of David Cameron's first actions was a strategic defence review that slashed the armed forces. So Labour are right about that, but they're hardly going to make things better by cutting things further.
It's just ridiculous.